I think that the sentiment beauty is pain is a bunch of baloney. It's the silliest thing that we've told ourselves. My favorite phrase since I was a kid was always, who said? And so, to beauty is pain, I say, who said? Why did we agree to it?
This is a story of women's foot liberation, of breaking free from a long history of clothing that has restricted us, kept us indoors, caused pain, harmed our health, and in some cases even endangered our lives.
My great-grandmother's feet were bound. She was always like in bed. If your toes are wrapping around the underside of your feet, you're not going to be very comfortable.
Foot binding continued until 1949. But painful and restrictive clothes for women persist even today.
There's a system at play, one that has historically wanted to keep women short of time and small and looking certain ways so that we don't take over the world.
There was one episode of Sabrina in particular that we did this masquerade ball. So we all had the full getup, the double corsets, the hip pads, like everything. And we shot that for 2 days. And I was like, this is insane. Every day these women put these on. By the end of the second day, it's like my organs I couldn't feel. If they looked at us now, they'd be like, why are you still doing this? What are you doing? I gravitate towards sneakers. Growing up a tomboy and an athlete, I want to be able to run at any given moment. I want to be able to climb a tree at any given moment. I used to wear tutus over my jeans in high school. I also didn't wear makeup when I was a teenager. From a young age, I didn't understand why people wanted to be alike as opposed to be themselves. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna play then. At any point, if I get uncomfortable, I have no shame of taking those shoes off in the middle of the night and being barefoot for the rest of the evening in my whatever gown. I have no shame.
I knew after a night out, do I get painful feet if I've worn some stupid shoes?
What stupid shoes do you wear?
I used to wear heels all day, every day.
To go out on like an average weeknight, you'd put like 6-inch heels on.
I'm short, I'm 5'1". I want to be able to, you know, present like I'm maybe 5'3".
My biggest reaction to an invitation to a party is, oh my God, I'm gonna have to wear heels.
There's nights out where I've probably left earlier because...
Oh yeah, it's like game over once you can...
Because once you start thinking about your feet and how much they hurt, then you start to sit down.
I've been known to like walk home the last few steps in my bare feet, which now I think about it, in the city of London is not a clean place to walk home in your bare feet.
It's hard to walk the next day.
Your shoe choices evolve with your fashion choices. Shoes aren't something that's seen as, oh, let me wear this for my health. It's an accessory, just like a bag is. I don't think shoes are thought about as, what's gonna make me feel most comfortable today? It's what's gonna look the cutest and the coolest with my outfit today. And even if it hurts me, I'm still gonna wear it.
It's such a mismatch between modern shoes and what the foot was meant to do. It's striking that we're still walking.
Rena, take one.
I'm Rena Harris. I'm a functional podiatrist and I treat feet. I've been a podiatrist for over 20 years in many clinics across London. Women, we put our feet through so much. It's the narrow toe box, the heel, and the size.
The shoes I bought most recently, I bought a size smaller.
I do have a pair of size 5 boots.
No!
And I'm a size 6.
I used to wear shoes that were too small for me because I didn't like the size of my feet.
You're not a size 6, you're like, that's a size 7.
She says my feet are bigger than they are.
They were 38 when I was like 20. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. I have kind of small feet for my height. That's cute. They did not stay that size.
I wonder also if it's part of that societal pressure, you know, small feet, petite, not taking up too much space.
As a woman, you're an accessory. Back in the day, to a man, you have your man's last name, and that means you should be smaller and like cuter and carryable, you know? And so everything has to be more compact.
I tried to buy some pointy-toed shoes. I'm like, what? I think you have to add the point like beyond the toes, but they're like expecting the toes to go into the point.
You know, even if you have kind of flat shoe, you know, most are kind of quite pointy. The toe box tapers in too much. It pushes the big toe to one side and the little toes towards the big toes. Women get more surgeries because we wear the wrong footwear. Our foot is our main foundation. It supports the whole body. We want a strong and stable foundation. So when you are wearing a heel, you can instantly see the body change as it has to compensate to keep you upright. Otherwise, you just face plant, creating tight calves, Achilles, and over time can lead to plantar fasciitis and shin pain. These compensations are not just happening at the foot and ankle, but also at the knees, hips, and lower back. A high heel will force more body weight onto the ball of the foot, creating constant stress and tension on the forefoot. Coupled with a narrow toe box, and now you have the perfect recipe for hammer toes, Morton's neuroma, stress fractures, bunions. It's not just high heels. Most sneakers have this. And most kids' shoes as well, which is terrifying. Most shoes have a heel, and most podiatrists recommend a shoe with a bit of a heel.
In the beginning, we made shoes to protect our feet from harsh climates and terrain. The hot sands of Egypt, the icy cold of the Austrian Alps, and the sharp lava of Hawaii. In the beginning, heels had nothing to do with fashion and everything to do with war. Heels were added to boots, which also became rigid and narrow to keep Persian horsemen hooked in their stirrups. In the beginning, heels were worn exclusively by men. Keen to look like strapping Persian horsemen, European aristocrats embraced them, turning military footwear into items of fashion. In the beginning, women wore heels to emulate powerful men. They clacked the streets of London in wide brim hats and smoking pipes until the heels got so high they had to stay home. Later, philosophers decided men were too rational for high heels. In another of fashion's pinnacle moments, beauty and adornment became the exclusive domain of women.
Oh, Daddy, I can't walk in these things.
Meanwhile, doctors began to notice an uptick in health issues amongst these heeled women. Muscle cramping, sprains, nerve pain, back pain, bunions, hysteria. They decried the health hazards of high-heeled shoes, but heels were a runaway train. The shoe of choice for upper-class ladies, pin-up girls, and Hollywood stars, and mandatory for the burgeoning female labor force.
I started working as a flight attendant in 1971. To apply for the job, you could not be married, you could not be divorced, you could not be pregnant. The shoes that went with that uniform were at least 3 inches. You're waddling down the aisle in these ridiculous heels and the airplane's moving all over the place and you're trying to push this heavy trolley. 14 hours later, your feet are screaming. I got a very severe shin pain, so severe that I couldn't work. I have bunions. I lost my arches. I feel the improper footwear really damaged my feet.
While dress codes for women have relaxed in the workplace, heels continue to dominate red carpets and catwalks.
A theme of modeling is always putting on lots of shoes that are really uncomfortable. And Fashion Week is a month long of like 5 shows a day.
And I still get anxiety thinking about that because I don't actually know how I did that entire runway without 1, falling over, 2, my shoe coming out and hitting somebody in the face.
In the morning, it would hurt me to walk on the floor. The bones were bruised. How ridiculous that this is normal.
My feet, I felt like I'm taking like the biggest battering. Although you wouldn't see it now because there's fake nails on them. I didn't have toenails.
I'm a size 6 to 7, and I remember they brought out size 4 shoes. And so I just remember that all the back of the heels being cut, but all of my feet obviously being kind of like turned, like under. But for like 2.5 weeks,
I never complained about being in pain. All of my toenails have fallen off from years of running, doing ballet when I was very young, and then going into the modelling industry.
I think it's just historically, we're taught that we just have to suck it up.
I had spent 6 months training and competing on a broken foot at like 15 or 16. That was the level of pain and sacrifice that you put your body through and that you were so disconnected from.
Aisha McKenzie, one take one.
My name is Aisha McKenzie. I was the first ever black British rhythmic gymnastics champion. I loved the movement, I loved the freedom of expression. That's not to say it didn't give me lots of trauma too. With gymnastics, if you're good, it isn't a hobby for very long. By 10 years old, I was in the national team. A day in a Russian training would be 2 hours of ballet before breakfast. And then you start training through your routines.
5.
You'd have to do it perfectly 3 times. That 3 times could take you 6 hours because somewhere you're just making a little mistake.
Lovely, let's take a nice stretch, keep the legs.
I was 16. I was doing a pirouette and I did this spin and I kind of went over on my ankle. So I just thought, essentially, I've just twisted my ankle.
Holding it here.
And I was going to physio and the treatment isn't working.
Beautiful.
But, you know, I keep going through it.
Exhale, we rise.
Nobody can tell because of what I am giving to them. Yeah, no, it's okay, it's okay. Let me not say anything.
Good.
And I'm physically able to run, jump, spin, compete. About 6 months into this pain, I go to a different doctor. Oh yeah, that's why it's hurting, it's broken. And they had to operate. I have a pin in there and that scar is still, to this day, super sensitive. It's not just gymnasts. It's definitely women, it's mothers, it's so many people pushing through the pain.
I grew up in Kosovo. I was there until the age of 14 before moving to the UK during the Yugoslavian war that was happening in the early 90s. In Kosovo, our tradition is to take your shoes off before you come inside. You spend probably half of your day barefoot. In traditional podiatry, going barefoot is discouraged, even on the beach, because I don't know actually even what the reason is. It's not very open-minded. The whole way that I was working with clients, it was a symptom-based approach rather than how to improve foot health.
Yeah, do you want to just bring your big toe up?
It became very predictable. I knew really how I was going to treat every client.
Yeah.
I kind of felt more like an orthotist because I was prescribing orthotics, maybe a few exercises, and kind of that was your job. And I wasn't really proud of that.
I started asking questions. We would never dream of giving someone a neck brace for the rest of their lives, so why feet?
The first thing that I noticed was shin pain when running. Then I developed plantar fasciitis. The last straw was when I started developing a bunion on my left side. I developed a cyst on top of the exact joint. It started to become quite painful. The main treatment for these conditions is orthotics, supportive shoes. And I was doing that and they didn't help, so I didn't know what to do. I decided to leave the dietary world completely.
The life of an actress. It can be very exciting. I do get to travel to a lot of places. I do get to like meet a lot of really beautiful and amazing people. It's also really overwhelming and can be unsettling. Pretty much for almost my whole career, I've lived in a different place every 6 months. So to constantly be up and shifting and moving, up and shifting and moving, definitely makes one feel very like, who am I and what is the world? People always look at me and, I'm pretty happy-go-lucky. Little do they know. A thing that I struggle with a lot is depression and anxiety. Hence why I walk barefoot so much and I take the time to ground. I prefer to be barefoot over anything else if I can. Being barefoot, I just feel like, if nothing else has me, I know that Mother Earth has me.
I go back to London quite a lot from LA, and the one thing I make sure I do as part of trying to beat jet lag is going outside, no matter how cold it is, outside in my parents' house and just putting my feet on the ground. I find that really helps my body to, get used to the new environment that I'm in.
Culturally, as a Hawaiian person, I feel like it just helps you build a better relationship to the places around you.
I remember as a child loving that feeling of running on the soft grass with bare feet.
I have memories of being on the beach in Devon as a little girl, making sandcastles, just feeling very free.
I grew up in Northern California, and we were barefoot, like also just kind of bare.
We went to boarding school in England, and towards the end of term time, I used to put stones in my slippers to try and get my feet to be hardened enough to run out in the South African bush again.
They were so tough. I could run up our gravel driveway like without feeling a thing.
My dad had a surf school. We would go to the beach before school. I basically wasn't wearing shoes 90% of the time. When I first went to Stanford, I didn't anticipate how much I would hate wearing shoes. My feet are very wide from walking barefoot. When you try to put those feet in regular shoes, it just doesn't work great.
There's something still to this day I find so pleasurable about having my feet sort of in that sand that's just been touched by the sea.
When it's cold, sometimes people wear like booties, but I honestly find the minute I put wetsuit material or rubber between my foot and my surfboard, the connection to like the balance is just totally lost.
Like imagine if we wore gloves on our hands all the time. The sensory deprivation is crazy. It's super valuable to be able to feel like what you're doing with your feet.
Martial arts has also been extremely meditative for me. I was 13 or 14 when I got my black belt. Your feet are everything in karate. It's your whole base. Nothing matters but right here, right now, this next move, this next moment. So it does force you to be here, it forces you to be present. If I can become the master of my own mind, despite my mental illnesses, I can now reframe them for my benefit. I always like to say that they're like superpowers. It set me up for so many other mental challenges in life.
Did you get that? I moved into dancing, and I was a dancer for all the pop bands of the 90s. Take That and the Backstreet Boys. And then I moved into choreography, and I worked with Katy Perry, Snoop Dogg, show director, London Fashion Week, Olympics, London 20, Britain's Next Top Model. There was a moment that I wore heels every day. It was what I thought I needed to do to feel like people would take me more seriously. It was the stopping and just being able to take a few breaths that I just found absolutely so powerful. I was going too fast because I didn't believe in myself. All the things, the heels, the hair, the makeup, I love it. But it's a difference between whether I think I need it because that's the way I'm going to be accepted, or no, I just love to play and I get to do it all now because I want to. They're just two different spaces.
I just want to do something completely different. With yoga trapeze, you actually have to listen to your body and your feet. I was training as a yoga trapeze instructor. I happened to come across people who were talking about foot health in a very different way.
Our feet are where everything starts, and that's revealed really quickly on a yoga mat.
If you look at someone doing a yoga pose and their hips are out of alignment, instead of just going to try and correct the hips, look at the feet first. I mean, 9 times out of 10, the feet are in the wrong position.
If you don't massage anywhere else in your body, massage the bases of your feet, because all the nerves end there. And actually, all those nerves that are at the bottom of the feet link to every single part of our body.
If your feet were strong, how many knee, ankle, hip, back issues perhaps might not be happening? Because you need a strong foundation.
That's the one thing, even if I'm not washing my face, I'll massage my feet.
The health of your feet and your ability to balance well is more critical for longevity, I would posit, than anything else.
I discovered certain foot health communities like the Foot Collective, Gait Happens.
These muscles in the foot, we need to use them.
From the moment I heard them talk about feet, the penny dropped. Feet are meant to move, and it's not meant to just stay in one position. A certain movement that's really essential is pronation. In traditional podiatry, it was something that we always wanted to correct and control, but we are meant to pronate. It's how you absorb shock from the ground. Our feet, number one, are a sensory organ. They're meant to feel. We have over 200,000 nerve receptors on the soles of our feet, and they're constantly sending information to your brain to tell your body how to move, how to strike the ground, at what speed, at what angle. It helps our overall proprioception and stability. Shoes that we wear nowadays have too much cushioning. When you wear cushioning, you can't feel the ground, so you're not getting any of that information.
In 1980, a train strike in New York City changed the trajectory of women's footwear forever. Suddenly, thousands of women were walking to work, and they wanted to do it in comfort. In increasing numbers, women swapped rigid heels for cushioned soles made of plastic, gel, foam, and proprietary chemicals. And in 2016, bam, for the very first time, women bought more trainers than heels. Yet their foot problems continued. Along with knee problems, hip problems, ankles, back, what was afoot? Let's go back to the 1960s, when a fitness craze was sweeping America. Inspired by Nike founder Bill Bowerman's book Jogging, once sedentary men and women were pounding the pavement in droves. A firm believer in the natural ability of our feet, Bill studied athletes and determined the best running shoes for performance were lightweight and thin-soled. But for most people, the transition from a lifetime in dress shoes to thin soles was too much for their weakened feet. Injuries began to rise. In a move as pivotal as the invention of the heel, the running shoe was redesigned to look like a narrow dress shoe, replacing the heels with underfoot padding. Cushioned shoes took off. To convince the public that sneakers were in fashion, the big shoe brand spent billions of dollars in marketing with celebrity endorsements from iconic athletes. The more sales grew, the more they added. Thicker soles, more cushioning, stiffer heels, even more cushioning. Toe springs, airbags, carbon plates. Trainers became a multi-billion-dollar industry, and women fell in love with cushioned shoes.
We've been told that if you have problems with your knees and hip, that you should have a cushioned shoe so it can absorb the load, but actually it's the opposite. The force is the same that's coming back towards you, and it's just going to go to another part of the body, and often that is the knee and hip. Also, we have a very thick layer of fat pad under the heel, which absorbs that shock. So we don't really need cushioning shoes. We've got the cushioning in our feet. I was so surprised I didn't know all that beforehand. Where was this information before? So the type of shoes that I would wear normally would be like a Brogues. I thought it was a reasonable shoe, you know, has a bit of a heel. That was the advice, always have a bit of a heel. They don't really bend or move, so just, you know, really stiff. Barefoot shoes, they are foot-shaped. They allow natural foot and ankle function. So they have a wide toe box. They're flat, flexible, with thin soles so you can feel the ground. I went to Vivobarefoot in Covent Garden and got a pair of shoes. The moment I started wearing them, they made a huge, huge difference. Most of my foot issues completely disappeared. I was like, wow. I think these definitely were the ones that exacerbated my bunion. And you can clearly see the bump here on the left that's not visible on the right. I had that epiphany. I don't need to leave my profession. I know a lot about feet, but I can do things differently. I had to unlearn and relearn everything, I think.
I once injured my foot really bad by getting a sea urchin straight through like the ball of my toe. Couldn't walk for a couple of weeks, and then you really realize like the importance of mobility in your feet. I kind of learned through that a lot of appreciation not only for my feet but like other parts of my body, and just how much of a gift it is to be able to move how you want to.
We should really celebrate our big feet because, you know, our feet do a lot for us. Our body is so incredibly intelligent. If we create the right environment in tune with how we were designed to function, then, you know, the body thrives, you know, you thrive.
The shift away from heels or things that I was wearing because other people were is just like a coming of age thing. I just began to know myself more, knowing what makes me feel powerful and strong.
I feel the most free and comfortable in my own skin in the ocean.
Like right out of the shower.
When I'm in nature.
On a long walk.
Galloping on a horse somewhere in the middle of nowhere on a beach.
When I'm around people who I feel understood by.
Around my family and my people.
I always feel more beautiful when I'm not wearing makeup.
When I'm not looking in the mirror.
I feel most comfortable when I have no clothes on.
When I'm naked.
When you're like really confident and comfortable with all your imperfections, that is more attractive than that perfection that we strive for. Yeah, first date, I don't have any toenails. You know, like straight out, it's kind of like bam.
I think my feet are quite pretty for the amount that they've gone through, to be honest. Quite pretty feet.
Let's not bond over the pain anymore. Let's bond over like, look at my cool, healthy feet.